Hey, welcome to the Straight Sports Podcast. We're your host Joshua, and
Tushar.
in this podcast, we give our opinions on our favorite sports, which are basketball, soccer, and wrestling.
So this is episode 36. Josh, let's get it started. We got a packed episode today. Topic 1, NBA. Chris Haynes, he reported this on March 28, 2023, meaning he put a tweet out. So he said, with injury plagued Portland Trailblazers out of the playoff picture, superstar guard Damian Lillard will be held out for the remainder of the season, league sources tell. Um, so what are your thoughts on this? And do you think Damian Lillard played his last game as a Blazer?
Um, with this, honestly, I'm not surprised. I mean, you see, it's a more common thing. These games are essentially meaningless. They have no playoff aspirations, and the season is essentially over. So why risk injury by playing your best player? I mean, I kind of saw this coming. There are some other teams that are trying to do this too with some other players. I heard the Pacers might do it with Halliburton. I don't know. That was a rumor I heard. I don't know, but not surprised. And do I think he plays his last game as a Blazer? No. I mean, we've seen what he said. Um, he doesn't want to leave. He wants to be loyal. And he said he hates ring culture. I heard. Seen that on the JJ Redick podcast, I believe. Shout out JJ Redick. But I feel like that's only because he's not a part of it. If he had a chance to take part of it, would he hate it? No. But that's just what it is. I feel like he'll be a Blazer until he retires. That's what he wants to do. That's where he want to be. So that's where he's gonna play until the end of his career. That's my take on it.
For me, my thoughts just initially, it's obviously unfortunate. We know Damian Lillard, I have a lot of respect for him, man. He's one of the few that is very loyal. Obviously we have guys like
That's
Steph
true.
Curry. If you look at the past, Dirk Nowitzki, Tim Duncan, there was definitely a lot of them, and he's on the list too as being loyal, trying to stay there for one franchise. But I guess the difference between those kind of stars is they were able to win obviously championships, right? Steph Curry was
Yeah.
built with a roster, Kevin Durant, he has Klay Thompson, Tim Duncan. We already know what the legendary run the San Antonio Spurs had for 20 years of the dominance. He led the way, and the players that he had. Dirk Nowitzki had a 1-year title run. He did stay loyal, but he only got one championship, and there was a lot of years obviously they had that did not have successful years, but still got one. But I think the issue, and I think for me, Portland, the issue is, and it's not really Dame's fault. It is you call those kind of small market teams. It's not easy to recruit players to come play in Portland. If
That's
you play
true.
in another market, maybe plays in LA, it might be easier to recruit. So that's the unfortunate thing with this situation. So I'm sad because obviously I think for all of us, we would love to see Dame win a championship. I mean, he's one of the most loyal guys. He keeps saying the stuff about ring culture. He wants to stay in Portland. If he won a champion, like if he wins a championship somewhere else, it wouldn't mean as much if he does in the Blazers. But for me personally, I think he's been so loyal. I think they had some good teams. Obviously, they had. There was a time they had LaMarcus Aldridge. Then he ultimately left. He went to San Antonio. Had CJ McCollum and him. They tried to run it for a lot of years, and every year they made the playoffs. Just it wasn't very deep. The deepest was the Western Conference Finals. So, for me, do I think he played his last game as a Blazer? To be honest, that's on Dame because I feel as personally he's gonna stay because he wants to, unless the organization does something to kind of force him to
Yeah.
really leave. I think the only way Damian Lillard leaves if the organization comes to him and be like, "We're rebuilding," and I know that's not something you want. Let's move on. Like I think the organization would have to take the first step for Damian Lillard to actually leave because he made it clear in an interview. He said, "I'm not here to rebuild." And if Portland
Yeah.
just lets know we want to rebuild, we want to start all over, and we think it's best to move you, then I think he agrees. But if they don't say anything to him, I don't think he's leaving. He made that clear. There was every year at the end of the season, I feel like we have this conversation about Damian Lillard. If the organization makes the push, then he will not be a Blazer. But if they don't say anything, Damian Lillard will still be here because he wants to be here.
Yeah.
And then moving on to the next question, we're kind of already discussing this, but do you think it's time for the Blazers and Lillard to move on?
Honestly, yes, I do. Because um you see what's going on this season. Who's to say next season will be any different? We know you can't pull any free agents. We know that you will not be a playoff team. We know that at best you'll be a play-in team.
At
So
best,
basically,
yes.
every season on here is a wasted season. So what are you doing with Dame still? I mean, if I'm them, I do him a favor. We try to get you anywhere you want to go, get the best package available for you because they're wasting time. They're running out the clock, and when he's gone and he leaves, retires, and they have nothing, and they're essentially starting from square one, and they have to rebuild the organization because he was their best player. I mean, I think right now Portland, the GM, the front office, they got to cut their losses, and they got to go and try to rebuild, man, because he doesn't want to be a part of a rebuild. To me, that's a sign. That's a sign he said that. He knows that they're not going to compete, and he doesn't want to be part of a rebuild. So what does that mean? I think that means he's kind of saying he wants out in a way. I mean, I know he won't
Mhm.
outrightly say it, but you know your team isn't
It's
good.
hard to say because it feels like every year people could have said like, "Oh, when the year that they lost in the first round to Denver, they had I think who was it who was their coach at the time?
I forgot. Not gonna lie.
I think it was Terry Scotts or something. I hope I said his name right. But at that time he said something about the organization, and ultimately they hired a new coach. And then at that year he was
Yeah.
out for the whole year. They didn't make the playoffs to get a top pick, and then next year they try to run it without CJ McCollum, a whole different new team. And Anthony Simons had some good ballers. They started off hot in the season doing the number one seed, but in our opinion, you can't win it by yourself, and it's hard to acquire top free agents to come to Portland. Damian Lillard has been so loyal to this franchise, but at the time it is time now. I feel like it's a little bit late. This should have been done earlier, but I feel like it's a time now. Like it is time to go to the organization, let them know it's best for them to rebuild and best for you to move on. Yes, you want to win a championship, I understand it, but the bottom line, it's hard to get some free agents. We got free agents at this summer like James Harden. We don't think James Harden coming to Portland. That's no knock on Portland, but he's in Philadelphia right now with the MVP candidate. So it's hard to see them really do anything. And like I remember even though Damian Lillard, he got trolled on social media for this. He came out and said, "Y'all better hope I don't win a championship in Portland." And I saw, and I was looking at the comments. I'm like, this man just got set up for a troll because nobody sees him winning a championship. It's not that
Yeah,
nobody
honestly.
wants to see him not
Yeah,
win a championship
yeah.
because we all want to see him win a championship. He's been a very loyal thing. Difference between him and Steph is that Steph has the talent to win a championship. He has Clay, he has Draymond. They've done a good job building in the draft. They got Kevin Durant at a time. And also, you could consider Golden State a big market. Who doesn't want to play in San Francisco? There's just things, locations that something Portland cannot sell. They got to move on. I think, to me, I don't think Damian Lillard leaves unless the organization makes the first move and saying, we want to rebuild, let's trade you. Because I don't think he'll come out directly and say it to them because he's just every time somebody asks him about this, he just stays adamant about staying in Portland. But I think it's time. I hope this summer we see him in a new uniform and he gets a chance to really compete for a championship and the Blazers get some good package in return because a lot of teams were willing to trade for him. There a lot of teams. I'm already hearing not reports, but people are saying about how well he could fit in Miami. Miami could use him as with him, Jimmy, and Bam, or I don't know. The other teams could come up, so I think it's time. So hopefully we'll see him, but I don't know whether he played his last game. I think it's his call, and if the organization really makes a push and lets him know like we want to move on for him, and they say it to him directly, I think then he'll be gone. But he won't say it himself for sure. That's what it doesn't look like. Damian Lillard will be a what next season? Will he
A
still be a?
Blazer.
Yep. I
Free
mean,
Portland. He's holding him hostage.
don't you think also the organization got to come up and say like, yeah, if they feel rebuild, they could come into their super and be like, yo, look, honestly, we're
They
not
seen
in
his
that
comments,
direction of
man. If
winning.
they go against his comments, they're gonna look horrible, man. You know how it goes. He basically said he wants to be a Blazer for
Yeah, but if
life.
the organization comes to be like, we understand it, but the thing is, we just know we can't compete for a champ. They let him know for
He knows
real, and they
that,
have
and I
that
think that's why he
conversation.
said he doesn't want to be part of rebuild. He know they have to rebuild to be successful. They
But
can't
then he
compete.
did also say in interesting conversations, like when you leave a team, it doesn't always work out, which he has a point.
I mean, what can be
Sometimes,
worse than where he's at right now?
no, that's true too. But you were saying something like, for example, I think he said a comment about Russ. We've seen him how he's been to multiple teams, in a
Yeah,
couple of
but that's
years,
a
and
different
saying,
story.
but then even though it's like people look at like for example, let's say he's in Miami. We look at him probably could at least get to the second round, maybe a conference finals, right? If he's with him, Jimmy, and
Yeah,
Bam. But with Portland, we don't even see him making the playoffs. That's the difference.
exactly. So I'm trying to figure out where could he go that would be worse than where he's at. Like it's not a Russ situation where like you're
Yeah.
being put into
I mean,
like a
yeah, if you put him in
different
Miami with Jimmy
thing.
and Bam, he got a shot. He got a shot. So
I
this
think he has
this
to
the
go, man. Free
def I
Portland,
mean,
bro.
we've been saying this I feel like this is a conversation every year we've had.
Literally every year.
Last year, same thing, but it just comes up. But like I said, hopefully Damian Lillard ultimately agrees and not in a sense like he's okay with it and he does this trade. I think he should request a trade and let the franchise know. But I don't like I said, I don't think he's gonna do it. I think the franchise has to make the move. But you're right about Portland being kind of held hostage a little bit. But at the end of the day, it's unfortunate. Portland hasn't, I wouldn't say isn't entirely not their fault. It's hard to get free agents there. They tried through trade. They've tried to get Jeremy Grant. They try to make what moves they could, but it's tough again. Portland is just hard to sell, and it sucks because they got a great fan
I
base,
think he
great
even tried to recruit
organization. They
Kevin
have a
Durant
great
one year,
coach.
actually.
They're just a great team in a great city. So it's unfortunate to see this happening, but that's just what small markets versus big markets are.
I guess that's true. But if you got the talent, I mean, free agents will come to you, bro. Like we saw happen with Giannis. So What does that say
But
about
Drew
Dame?
Holiday came through a trade. It didn't. He
That's
never
true.
signed
That's
there.
true.
Chris Middleton was who drafted there.
So maybe the Portland front office is just incompetent.
I don't know if that's a strong word,
I
but
mean, you got to draw the parallels, man.
I mean, I guess you could say
Who have they
when it
been
comes to the
drafting?
draft, I mean, Simons has been great. It's not
Yeah,
like
but
he has.
that's one of the recent. Like they've had Dame for how long?
That's true.
Who
Yeah.
have they drafted to play alongside him? And they made little to no moves in trading.
I remember they tried to get Melo, but Melo I think didn't. Melo did say he could have been to Portland earlier, but he ultimately I think it was based on a trade. So I don't know, but obviously you could definitely look at the front office hasn't done the best job, getting superstars around Dame, and also another thing is it's a small market, so I think it's a mix of both. I know you love Portland and they love you, and you're
It's
you could be
time to
the
go,
greatest
man.
Portland Trailblazers of all time. You've done everything. I think you pushed the loyalty limit because you've continued to be there, but it's time. We just want to see him be able to win.
So next, topic 2. Who are your top 10 NBA players with the most pressure to win a championship this season?
Oh, Josh, I've been waiting for this
Gotta hear
topic.
this,
This is
man.
like and also just to let you know, top 5 teams that we're gonna do like with the most pressure to win a championship. We're gonna do that the next episode, just to let you guys
Yeah.
know. I thought it'd be cool to do top 10. So let's me and Josh agreed on this. So let's start off. So we'll start off with for me. Let's start off. So the top 10 players this season to win a
Yeah, let's hear
championship.
this, man.
All right. So remember, Josh, I know we agree with a lot of things on this podcast, and it's good. Sometimes it's good to disagree, and we're gonna
Will
have a
this be a troll
disagreement.
list? Just let me know in advance.
No,
Will
it's
this be a
not.
troll
And,
list?
just all I ask you is to hear me out, and then at
Okay.
the end you could violate the list. What you want to do? Just hear me out. That's all I
Okay,
ask.
sure.
All right. All right. At number one, I think this is the most obvious choice. I don't know if Josh will agree
Okay.
with this, but at number one, I got Chris Paul. We know he's kind of accomplished everything. He's been a multi-time All-Star. He's top 3 in assists all time. I mean, he kind of has everything you need. He's already a first ballot Hall of Famer. He's one of the greatest point guards to ever live. But the bottom line is for his legacy to be cemented, I feel like he definitely needs a championship because if you look at his playoff success, he hasn't had the best playoff success. He's been part of the 3-1 choking with the Clippers. He's only been to, I think, one conference finals and one NBA finals. So it hasn't been very good playoff success. He's kind of been hit with injuries during the playoffs. And the one shot that he had against the Suns up 2-0 lost. He had a chance that year and with the Clippers up 3-1 lost. He had a chance with the Rockets. Obviously, Chris Paul gets hurt. They lose. He had a few chances, but now you have Kevin Durant. He's arguably, in my opinion, and Josh's opinion, the best player in the world. You have Devin Booker. He's never had a team like this. He's always had one of those guys. He had a James Harden. He had a Devin Booker. He's had always one of those guys, but now he has 2 superstar talents. If they're healthy, he's 37. I don't know. We assume he plays next year. He's on a partially guaranteed contract next season. Who knows? Got to get it done. Got to win that championship. And number 2, I got James Harden. I mean, if you look at it,
Interesting.
obviously, the Houston situation, we know they tried. They got close with Chris Paul. But ultimately, he decided to say, I don't want to be in Houston anymore. He didn't leave on the best terms. It definitely didn't look good. Goes to Brooklyn. You have Kyrie and Kevin Durant. It just didn't work out, unfortunately. Not really because of the talent. The talent was there. They just couldn't play enough games, too much drama with the organization. Just everything that could have went south went south. Bottom line is then he acts out of Brooklyn. He didn't want to be a part of this. And now he looks like the real smart guy because everybody kind of after that, other players have left too. Their whole team is gone now. So the big three. So he goes to Philly. He has Joel Embiid. Obviously, the first year there kind of came mid-season. He struggled in the playoffs at the end. He had some good playoff games too. He's playing with an MVP candidate in Joel Embiid, who might win the MVP this season. He's playing with Tyrese Max Tobias. It's a really good team. PJ Tucker, just a whole great coach. You're the 3rd seed in the East. Time is ticking. This is your real chance to win a championship here. As long as obviously the team is
Yeah.
healthy. Obviously, he's already accomplished everything. He has a league MVP. He's led the league in assist 1 time. He's led the league in scoring 3 times. Has a championship. What they gonna say? The only thing people criticize about James Harden, he doesn't do it when it matters most. We've seen it a couple of times when
That's
he was
true.
in Houston, Game 6, no Kawhi Leonard. It was Paul Gasol, LaMarcus Aldridge. He dropped 10 points in the closeout game. We seen it in Philadelphia, Game 6, only took 2 shots in the second half. He's had multiple situations like this where he just hasn't showed up when it matters most. Doesn't mean he hasn't played good in the playoffs. He has. Talking about those crunch time moments. But if he does it with Joel Embiid as the number 2 guy, has a good playoffs, and helps them win a championship, because we know Philadelphia, best player might be Joel Embiid, but the most important player for them to win a championship is James Harden. If he wins the championship, all I'm going to say is what they're going to say now because he's already done everything else. And number 3, I think Josh is going to catch with surprise because he feels like I have some sort of bias towards this player, but it's Kawhi Leonard. There's no question about it. We know he's a top 75 player. He's a 2-time Finals MVP, a 2-time Defensive Player of the Year. He's already a first ballot Hall of Famer. He's won the only championship Toronto Raptors has. He was part of the final championship that the Spurs won in 2014. Just obviously, I'm not saying they will never win a championship again, but that was the last time they won a championship. But we look at the time he came to the Clippers. There was a commercial about him being the king of LA. First year was the ultimate choke fest, up 3-1. He was on the team. You have to criticize when it happens, to the star player. He's got to take some blame because he's the star player, or you say he takes majority of blame. We give heat to KD. We give heat to LeBron. Got to give heat there too. Up 3-1. Obviously, Paul George didn't play good in that series either. But Game 7, I think he was 1 for 11 in the second half of a Game 7. Can't happen. He's a superstar. We know how great he is. So if you look at his first season and then second season, obviously got to a conference final, but he got injured in the second round. Third season injuries, fourth season. The Clippers, bottom line, they got him and Paul George for a reason to win a championship. And I don't think they expected in year 4 they still be questing and looking for a championship. He's got to get it done. He gets one with the Clippers. I mean, there's really no negative you could say about this guy. And number 4, I got Joel Embiid. If you look at the Sixers in the last 4 out of 5 years, they got bounced out in the second round. Never made it to the Eastern Conference Finals. The last time they made it was with AI in, I think, 2001. He's played with a lot of all-star talent at the time. Ben Simmons, Jimmy Butler, James Harden. I mean, obviously, unfortunately, injuries have hampered his playoff success. Faced a lot of injuries during the playoffs. Besides, I think the year that Kawhi Leonard won it, I thought that team was really good. And obviously, you think about that Kawhi shot not going in, a big what if. What could have happened? Could the Sixers would have won the championship? Who knows? Yeah. Would Jimmy Butler still be a Sixers? Who knows? That shot could have changed everything. But now he's with James Harden, who is probably the best teammate he's ever had in the sense of the fit. I mean, he's the greatest playmaker he probably played with. I mean, James Harden just another level with this kind of stuff. So this is his best chance to win a championship. The third in the East, got good depth, a good starting lineup, good coach. This is your chance to go out there and win a championship, And we know if they don't win this season, the reason why I'm putting him, under a lot of pressure with just James is because if they don't win this season, Philadelphia could have major changes. Could James Harden actually consider leaving? You just never know.
That's true.
So that's for me for number 4, and I'm gonna get to later why Joker's lower. So at number 5, I got Kevin Durant. You could say what you want about this man. This man's a 2-time Finals MVP, 2-time NBA champion. He's a 1-time league MVP. He's kind of accomplished everything. He's a top 75 player. He's a all-time great player. But the bottom line is, and I don't think Josh is gonna like me saying this, but I'm gonna say it. Bottom line is, we know the Thunder. He was on the Thunder. They was up 3-1. They lost. He joined the Warriors, a team that had the best regular season record and were 73-9, who were also 1 game away from winning a championship, also won a championship before he arrived. If you look at it, obviously people criticize the way he got the championship. It's easy rings, whatnot. You could criticize him. Bottom line is, I'll say is that he won the championship. I'm going to give him credit where credit is due. He still got rings. We can't just say they're non-existent. I mean, he's a great player. He had a huge role in them winning those championships for sure. There's an argument if he doesn't join that year, would they even beat LeBron? Even Draymond Green, I think, said he didn't feel like that. So, but regardless, if you look at it, Kevin Durant does not have a championship without Steph Curry. Curry has won one. The first one people really criticized in a sense where LeBron James' team wasn't healthy. He got it last year. They kind of shut all the noise down about Steph Curry. And then Kevin Durant left Brooklyn. He first left Golden State because obviously, he's in Brooklyn, gets his own chance, different team, and he gets a chance to be, that's his franchise. They're building around him, everything, and it goes south. It did not go the way it planned, and it was not entirely his fault. Probably he gets really little bit of the blame. The Kyrie stuff and James Harden, everything was a disaster. But the bottom line is he left, and it gives him, obviously doesn't give him the best look knowing they had top 3 players, and they're all now out, not on different teams. So bottom line, I feel like he got to win a championship. The reason he's number 5 on my list, he got 3 more years left on his deal with Phoenix. He got to just win one over there, and everything will be okay. That's why he's 5th on the list. But bottom line is, there's still, there's still immense pressure on him. A lot of people are saying that he left Brooklyn, this and that. He's going a lot of places. He hasn't won without Curry, and if he does that, I mean, that all the noise is quiet. I mean, To be honest, you talk about him, I kind of feel like he's in the range of a top 10 to top 20 all-time player, like between that. And if he wins this third championship, he could elevate. Who knows how high he could go on this list. So let's move on to number 6. All right, ready, Josh, for this one? Paul
Yeah.
George, number 6. All right, so we know what happened. He was in Indiana. He was great. He was their franchise player. He made it to the Eastern Conference Finals multiple times there. I think he was pretty successful there. Bottom line is he ran into LeBron James, D Wade, and Chris Bosh. It's just simple as that. Obviously wants to trade, goes to OKC, plays there 2 years, and initially said that he was going to stay there long term, and then signs that extension, and then he's like, I'm here with Russ, we're going to try to win it. And then the year after that, he's not there. So he was, hopping around. Then he goes to the Clippers. He wanted, he always talked about playing in LA. He's with Kawhi Leonard in LA, home. It's arguably the best team he's had to win a championship. Year one, did not play very good. He'd had a bad playoff series, and then they choked the 3-1 lead. And then there was, I felt like, where he talked about, oh, we didn't feel like it was championship or bust. All these type of things that he was saying, and obviously a lot of people didn't agree with it because at the end of the day, why would they get Kawhi and PG? Yeah, maybe the first year, fine, but nobody expected them to be eliminated in that fashion. That's still the most embarrassing thing I have seen. Um, but regardless, winning a ring could cement his legacy. I know he's not in the top 75, and I'm curious about your thoughts, Josh. Like, and I'm not saying I agree or not, but do you think Paul George is the first ballot Hall of Famer?
I mean, there's a debate for that. I mean, right
Because like
now,
people might actually consider debating it because the
I
thing
don't
is,
know.
people might because like a lot of people think Russ is the first ballot because and he's a MVP, triple double, all that. But it feels like there is somewhat of a debate, and winning a championship could kind of end that small debate
That's true.
because he's a first ballot Hall of Famer type player. I mean, we've seen his stats and everything, but it also comes down he's been a multi-time All Star. That's kind of what he's accomplished. He had a lot of success in Indiana, multiple conference finals, but OKC 2 first round exits. He was a runner up for MVP. But if he wins MVP, doesn't that cement his legacy about like, okay, this guy's the first ballot hammer for sure? If there's even any discussion on it, what do you think?
I mean, that's fair. Yeah, I think yeah, getting a title would like quiet
Help
some
his
of the
legacy.
discussion. Yeah, it would.
And also, you do it for the Clippers, a team who's never won a championship, never been to a finals,
That's
right?
true.
All right, number 7, Josh. Again, this is a fun list, man. I'm having fun making this list up. But at number 7, I got Russell Westbrook. I mean, look, I'm gonna say
Hmm.
something about it. He's a first ballot Hall of Famer. There's no question. Top 75 player, no question. He won a league MVP. He's been to a finals. He's been to multiple conference finals with Kevin Durant. And unfortunately, once Kevin Durant and him parted, once Kevin Durant decided to leave OKC and go to Golden State, Russell Westbrook's missed the playoff once. He's only been out of the first round once. So majority of the time, he's getting bounced out in round one. I remember the year we had PG I think they lost to Utah. The year after that, Damian Lillard, we know the bye-bye shot he did on them. That was
Yeah.
another year. Then after that, I think he went to Houston. They got bounced out in round 2. Then he went to Washington, bounced out in round 1. Lakers didn't make the playoffs, and obviously we know that he got, unfortunately, all the blame. Him and Frank Vogel were the scapegoats for no reason. And then now he's with the Clippers. Now, if you look at the team, obviously the narratives around him, we know the narratives. I'm not saying I agree with this, but you heard the narratives. You can't win through us. He's a solo act. He's a stat
That's
patter.
true.
You you know he's a all these stuffs. You hear these narratives. Win a title, he would quiet all the noise down. At that point, if you're hating on him, then you're just a hater. Like at this point. And now, if you look at the Clippers, his team is built around him really good. He got shooting. He has center he can pass to. He has the pieces that he needs that fit his play style really well. Great coach and everything. So wins a championship here, that really, like, at that point, it's just like, what are you going to say about him now? Like, you can't really criticize him because I feel like the narrative around him is that even I've heard this other, and I feel like, again, this the word narrative, quote, quote, that he's not a very good teammate because even though you've seen guys like Paul George, every teammate he's had defended him. So
That's true.
clearly, this is just narratives being made up. He's clearly a good teammate. About the winning thing, Paul George had his best season with Russell Westbrook. Bradley Beal had one of his best seasons with Russell Westbrook. I'm just saying.
That's true.
So yeah, and number 8, and again, I think this is the one a lot of people are gonna disagree with where I ranked him. I have Nikola Jokic. I mean,
Okay.
and now this is where I'm gonna explain why Embiid's ranked over him. So Nikola Jokic, right? 2-time MVP. He might get his third one. So obviously, people have questions like, okay, you've won multiple time MVP. Well, when is it time that you're gonna win a championship, right?
Yeah.
Like when Giannis won back-to-back MVPs, it was like, okay, the pressure's on, but they eventually won the championship. So when are you going to win? Again, those conversations, those chatters are beginning. So that's why I feel like there's still some pressure because yeah, he's had these MVP titles. So yeah, definitely he's going to have to win a championship eventually. Doesn't mean he got to win it this year, but sure, there's still pressure on him a bit because then he's a superstar and Denver's the number one seed, got a very good team around him, great coach, so definitely got to, have to hopefully eventually wins the championship. But the reason why I don't have him so high on the list, I mean, think about this. First of all, Joker's 28 years old. He got 4 years left more on his deal. Murray's 26. He got 2 more years left on his deal. Michael Porter Jr. is 24 years old. He still got 4 years left on his deal. Aaron Gordon's 27 years old. He still got 2 more years left on his deal. The core is young. This team is so young. Their championship window looks like 5 to 7 years of a window,
Yeah,
maybe
that's true.
longer. They got so much time, like so much time. And the one thing I don't like about people criticizing when it comes to him winning those MVP awards and saying about like, oh, he got the most pressure. I feel like that's not true because first of all, when he won his first MVP, Murray got injured. He had an ACL injury. He was out. They played the Blazers in the first round, right? There was a lot of injuries they sustained. They won that series, and Dame CJ, it was a good team over there. They won that series. And look at this. Nikola Jokic averaged 29.8 points, 11.6 rebounds, 5 assists in that playoff stand. Then he played the Suns and they lost. And again, the Suns were the better team, the healthier team. They had Chris Paul, Booker, Mikal, Cam. They had a very good team. And Nikola Jokic played well, but I was outmatched from a better team. And the second year he won the MVP, Murray was still out. MPJ, you could argue was their third best player, he was out. They were injured all season. They were the 6th seed. They played the Warriors. Again, the Warriors had Steph, Clay, Jordan Poole. Jordan Poole was like wilding at that time. Had a better team. They lost 4-1, but Joker had 31, 13.2 rebounds and 5 assists. The one thing I don't understand is when it comes to him, they talk about he got to win a championship. It's like people act like he's played bad in the playoffs. He's played superior. He's played to a higher level than he played in the regular season in the playoffs, right? But he just hasn't won it, and I think it's more about needing the pieces. You can't win a championship by yourself. So I feel like he's relatively played good in the playoffs. I don't know why he gets criticized. I understand he won those league MVPs, but the bottom line is he won those league MVPs because he put his team in a position and carried his team. Because if you took Nikola Jokic out, uh, and he would, let's say he's not, let's say you replace Nikola Jokic and that's the team they have, would they even be a play-in team? Like for real? I'm not
Yeah, that's true.
discrediting Denver, but come on now. So like I said, the reason why I have Embiid over uh Joker, there's multiple reasons. First of all, Embiid has played with all-star talents. He's played with Ben Simmons at the time who was an all-star. I know it's a different story now. Jimmy Butler, James Harden. 3. Joker is yet to play with an all-star player, right? This is the best team he's had.
Yeah, that's true.
Also, you can't win titles by yourself. That's pretty obvious. And those 2 years he won the MVP, he was by himself. He didn't really have a second star. Jamal Murray, who's, he played good in the bubble, but hasn't played to that level yet since the bubble. But that's because he's injured and it's going to take him time. And I've seen spurts of his greatness again. And of course, I'm not disrespecting Jamal Murray. I'm just kind of just saying what it is. And then so you look at it, and Embiid, you gotta look at Philadelphia. Like Embiid's also like we look at Philadelphia, their window's short. They have a lot more vets. They got Harden, he's 33. PJ Tucker. Tyrese Maxey is a little young. Tobias Harris. They got some more older players on age, so we feel like their window's shorter because again, if they don't win it, let's say they get early exit this season, there could be major changes in Philadelphia. If James Harden decides to leave, Embiid and Maxey, we don't think they have enough to win a championship. So
Yeah,
their window's shorter. Also, we know Embiid has faced a lot of injuries in the playoffs, and Harden's at this point of his career, he's kind of sometimes struggling with injuries. So if you look at Denver, like they're just younger, they have a longer window. Sixers window is short. That's why I feel like Embiid has to win it. And if we talk about Joel Embiid has played with better talent, and he's not been to a conference finals, right?
that's
He's
true.
not been to Nikola Jokic stunned people. And of course, I'm bringing up the Clippers again with this sad thing, but they stunned the world when they beat the Clippers and they made it to their first conference finals. So he's been
That's
there.
true.
So when he had that kind of team, he made it to the conference final. And that year was a shock. Then the next 2 years, no Jamal Murray. He didn't have MPAJ and Jamal Murray the next year. Still figured out a way to even win a round. Got to a second round the next year. Then the next year got bounced in the first round. So now he got a team. Now a couple of years. Now, yes, if Nikola Jokic somehow doesn't win a championship in the next couple of years, for sure, there's conversations to be had. But right now it's too early. He's young. If he eventually wins a championship, the noise, the hate, we know those people in the media I be hearing all the time. of the hate they got towards Nikola Jokic, man. Like I don't really understand it. That's kind of how I feel. So what do you think about my opinion of having him beat over Joker? Because a lot of people don't agree with this.
I mean, I think that makes a lot of sense. Uh, Jokic did have that season where he did beat the Clippers, in the playoffs.
And that year he had Jamal Murray, who was phenomenal. So he had a
Yeah,
good duo. You have to need a duo to win,
yeah, and
right?
then it went downhill pretty much with health from his
It
teammates.
was
So I
basically
mean,
health. That was really the
yeah,
only
it
thing.
basically went from a crazy high to like a low for 2 years. Now
Mm.
everyone's back healthy. So now this is essentially his first chance since defeating the Clippers in the playoffs in the bubble, I believe,
To
to
actually
actually
compete for a
compete with this
championship.
full
Mm.
roster. So I mean, I feel like he has to get some slack with this because it's not really, I wouldn't say unfair, but like this is
It's just the
his
truth.
chance. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's just facts. Yeah.
If we look
So I
at
mean,
Philadelphia, like Nikola Jokic has never been the number one seat in the
yeah,
West. Uh, when he had, I think it was Ben Simmons who was there. I think it was Tobias Harris. They were the number one seed, right?
that's
They played
true.
the Atlanta Hawks. Nobody thought the Atlanta Hawks were going to win that series, right?
Yeah,
And they lost in the second round. Then there was a year with Jimmy Butler. They lost to Toronto in Game 7. So and that those two teams that he had, they could have easily won a championship. Am I right?
that's true.
So yeah, that's kind of how I feel on it. But let's kind of let me move on to the last two. At number 9, obviously Jason Tatum. I mean, he's been to multiple Eastern Conference Finals, has been to a Finals. Played, he had a very bad Finals. We all know that, but obviously it was his first Finals. So, but bottom line is the Boston Celtics organization. Last year they made it to the Finals. They were very close, and obviously for this year they're probably thinking, I mean, we got to win a championship. Like we've already been to the Finals. Like what's better than getting to the Finals, winning it all? So, he if he wins a championship and plays good, that could say a lot about his legacy. Obviously, like I said, he's still young. He still has a lot of time to win a championship. Why? Obviously, Tatum's 25, Brown is 26, Robert Williams 25. Their core is very young. It feels like they still got a window, maybe 5 years or longer, to win a championship. But after that alarming news from Jaylen Brown, if Jaylen Brown somehow leaves, how does that change the Celtics championship picture or their pursuit? Because this is the assumption that Jaylen Brown is still here. If it's just Jason Tatum, do we think, they're a very good team? Don't get me wrong. But Jaylen Brown got to be there. And at number 10, finally, and I don't think you'll agree with this one, Josh, but I think I'm gonna explain why. I put Devin Booker. I mean, bottom line is
Okay.
he's been an all-star. He's been to a finals and lost. Obviously, we talk about him, in the beginning of his career, he was in the Suns and he never really had a good team. He never really made the playoffs. Then he got Chris Paul, then they made that finals run. And he played good, but they lost. They were up 2-0 and they lost. And then the next year when they played Dallas, I mean, that was the humiliation. I mean, game 6 and game 7 when there was trash talking, I think Luka, and Luka said acting tough when you up. In game 6 and game 7, he was a no-show. As the best player on that team. You could argue Chris Paul is the most important player, but the best player on the team. He didn't show up in game 6 and game 7, and they lost. They got cooked in their building. Now you got KD. Got to get one. You got to get one. And if you win one, that changes a lot about what people think about you, because a lot of people just say Luka owns Devin Booker, which is true. So he still got time though.
Percent is
Kevin
true.
Durant's there for I feel like he got 3 more years there, right? At least under contract. So he still got time. But it's starting though with the little bit of pressure, I would say. So that's my top 10. I don't know what you think. You said about a troll list. I tried to explain it in very detail. So, that's just my list.
I mean, that seems like a good list. I mean, I don't know if I have that many players, honestly.
Okay.
I'll just say the one I have right now, if that's okay.
That's fine.
Um, so for me, I know this might be surprising, bro, but I told you in 2023, I'm done with the troll takes. I'm being unbiased.
Okay.
And with my number one slot for
Okay.
the most pressure to win a championship, I have
Okay.
James Harden.
Interesting. I did
I
not see
mean,
that coming.
look,
I
man,
thought you would say Kawhi. I was thinking Kawhi, but go ahead.
we see James Harden, his career. The narrative is can't get it done in clutch moments. We see what happened against Golden State, the unfortunate stuff that happened then. We see what happened in Brooklyn, which really wasn't his fault. And we see what happened in Philly, which people criticize him for that too, him not showing up and not being aggressive. I feel like his career, I mean, I'm not gonna say it's cemented, but he's up there. And him getting a ring, I feel like would literally cement his legacy. I mean, we know he's one of the best shooting guards ever, in my opinion. I don't know what the public opinion is, but I feel like he's one of the people that people write off because he's never won a ring. Sure, his stats, he gets stats, but they might be empty. He never really does anything in the postseason, as people say. So I feel like him getting this ring,
That's not completely true, but yeah, I get what you mean.
yeah, like you know what the narrative is, but
Yeah.
I feel like this, if he were to get this ring, I mean, it will hush a lot of haters, and they'll actually appreciate how great he is. Next, I have Kawhi Leonard.
Okay. I mean, I
Um,
have him number 3, so I don't got a problem with
I
this.
mean, he's high on the list because I feel like he's had time with the Clippers. Yes, he was hurt, but that choke in the bubble.
Yeah.
I mean, there's just a lot of stuff that built up to that. But with all that being said, I feel like his legacy, I mean, despite this being said, I feel like his legacy is cemented after that Toronto ring. I mean, he cannot win another ring again, and I feel like he's a lock Hall of Famer, which I already thought he was, but I'm just going off based off what I've seen. I feel like the Clippers are under immense pressure. We've seen what has happened with the organization. I mean, they've essentially done nothing. I mean, the greatest thing for them was getting to the conference finals, which he didn't play due to injury.
Mhm.
But I just feel like this Clippers team and him under a lot of pressure this season, especially. And let's see if they can even make the postseason this season.
Hmm.
But next, Kevin Durant. I
Okay.
mean, look,
Yeah,
as
the
much
floor is
as
yours. The floor is.
as
I need to
much
hear
as
this.
as much as I hype up Kevin Durant, bro, the narrative is he can't win without Curry, and based off what we've seen, I mean, he hasn't disproven it.
Mhm.
Even though I believe he's still the best player in basketball,
Okay.
but from what we've seen, I mean, he tried to do without Curry, and he's failed at every level. I mean, the Nets, sure, one could argue that it was stuff behind the scenes, you know,
Yeah, like,
the
like
Ben
I said,
Simmons
not
saga
entirely
too.
his fault, right? Really,
It's
probably
not
not. But
100%. I
yeah.
get that.
Mhm.
And now he's on Phoenix, which I think is better situation than the Nets. More stable organization.
Yeah.
You got a clear point guard. You got a clear number 2 in Devin Booker. And I feel like this is his best chance to win right now. And if this season he doesn't win, I mean, questions got to be asked. I mean, even though
Like
this
I
is
said,
his
the
first season
window's
with
longer
them,
if he gets one eventually. But I
yeah,
see what you mean. It's still some pressure for sure.
yeah. I mean, that's true. Next, I have Embiid. I
Okay.
mean,
So we got Embiid the same place. Okay.
he's had a lot of postseason troubles. I guess we know what Kawhi did to him, ripped his heart out. Um, and I feel like I don't know. He's been injury prone a lot.
Mhm.
We've seen what he can do. The question is, will he ever be able to pull it off? I mean, of course, a lot of people rooting for him. I mean, he's playing with Harden
Mhm.
and Doc, two people which people consider to be career chokers. I mean, but obviously Doc is
Oh
in the ring.
dang it!
But I'm just saying the facts, man. I mean, I feel like
I don't know
this is a
about
big season
Harden
for
being a
him.
career choke. Who said
I
that?
mean, they just say that he doesn't show up in the big moments.
Oh,
You're
okay,
gonna see
okay.
about Harden.
Because I'm thinking
But
about Doc. I know he's had a couple 3-1.
yeah,
Unfortunately, but he's a great
yeah.
coach. I mean, let's not
Shout
knock
out
the
Doc
man.
Rivers, man. But Embiid, I feel like he's under a lot of pressure, especially with this MVP season he's having. Allegedly, I mean, we'll see who's gonna get the award. But yeah, I feel like Embiid is up there. Next, I mean, I have Jokic. This may be controversial, but
Hmm. I mean,
uh,
interesting. You
my
haven't.
list is kind of like based off like star tier. So this is where like the like superstar tier ends. I mean, no, not really, but I guess off of like the age range, kind of. I don't know, but just off expectations, I don't know.
I really don't. I'm surprised you don't have CP3, but I'll let you finish on this point.
Jokic, I mean, uh, I guess pressure, not from me per se, but I guess people are gonna try to put pressure on him because he did win 2 MVPs in a row and he's in contention for a third. So people are gonna start asking, oh, how can he have all this awards but never win a championship? So I feel like there's some pressure on him. Next, I got Tatum. Um,
That's your
obviously he's a
sixth
great
one,
player.
okay? Tatum.
Uh, he's only 24, I believe. He did come off of a historically bad finals,
Yeah.
so I guess maybe there's something to prove in that sense. But I feel like he's young. He has a big window. Him and Jalen Brown. I mean, if Jalen Brown even decides to stay on the
That's
team,
that's the big if though.
but
That's the big question now. With
I feel
especially the
like
comments he made.
he has a little bit of pressure. Not too much. Next, I got PG. I mean,
Yeah, that's
he's
obvious. Yeah.
tied in with Kawhi Leonard, so I don't really have much to say on that. But I feel like he's under similar pressure to Kawhi. I just feel like Kawhi holds more of the pressure than PG.
Yeah, and also I think people look at PG's like, okay, you haven't won anything. Kawhi's won, so people look at that.
And
But
next, I got CP3, like you said. I mean,
that's number 8. Okay,
I
that's
was kind of
CP3's
hesitant to
8.
add this because I
Okay.
feel like he is like already like touted as one of the greatest point guards of all time. He has 12 All Star team selections, 11 All NBA selections, 9 All Defensive team selections. So I feel like he already has a Hall of Fame career, and I feel like his career is locked already. Him
Yeah,
getting a
for
ring would just
sure.
be cherry on the top, but I feel like there's pressure in the sense because yes, I guess he's playing with Kevin Durant now. This is probably the best chance he's ever had.
And Booker. He's played
and
with
Booker
always
as
one
well.
guy like Harden, but
So
Kevin Durant
yeah,
and
pressure in the sense like if we don't do it, like because we don't know how long you're gonna even be in the league, man. So you just gotta ball out, man. And that's all I got for right now. I mean, I don't really have anyone else.
so wait, how many did you say? So you said
uh, that's 8.
I think you said 8. What about like maybe Russell Westbrook or Devin Booker,
I
Kyrie
mean, yeah,
Irving?
I guess a Westbrook too because to us the critics, and he is playing on the Clippers as well. So I guess you can add players from those teams. I guess more,
So
but
9 will be Westbrook, okay, and then maybe give me let's make up
I
another.
guess a
Let's get.
10.
Could you
I
say
don't
I
want to say Booker, but he is playing with Kevin Durant, man. So
some pressure?
I guess a little bit of pressure there.
Because the thing is, I always thought about potentially Kyrie with the narrative around him, though he only won with LeBron, right? And he hasn't
That's
obviously
true.
disproved it either. But the thing is, like, the Dallas Mavericks are so bad. It's like, how could I put him on this list?
That's true.
And no offense to Dallas, but they
Yeah,
stink,
they are
man. They
better right
can't
now.
guard a parked car.
That's better right now.
Because if he was in Brooklyn, I'd probably put him on this list. Because the team was good when he was there, you know?
Yeah.
But as for before we move on, I like your list, Josh. I'm not gonna lie, I'm pretty surprised. Think you put wait, no, you had KD 3, right? I'm pretty surprised. I had KD ranked lower than you. I have him
hmm
fifth, so I'm surprised about that. We both kind of agree with Harden. You have him 1, I have him 2. I'm really surprised with the Chris Paul that you put him so low on the list. But what do you thought of my list? Because you thought about me trolling. You said I'm gonna make a troll. You was basically cooking my list up. So
Seems like a pretty fair list,
it's
actually.
my explanation, right? You see, you gotta give me a chance, you know?
Agreed.
All right, so let's move on to topic 3. We're gonna move on to some soccer. Oh, let's go. So, Josh, we're gonna do the predictions for the Champion League quarterfinals. Did you get them all right for the round of
I don't.
16?
I don't know if I did actually. I have to go
I
back
think
and
you
hear my
probably got most
prediction,
of them right for
but
sure.
possibly, yeah.
All right, so let's start with the first matchup: Benfica versus Inter.
Uh, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go with Inter Milan. I mean, I feel like they got a good roster. As I said last time, I mean, I feel like they could be a sleeper team. You know, they have some talent, and I feel like they might surprise people with how far they go. So I'm gonna pick Inter Milan this time.
All right, so next matchup, let's go: Man City versus Bayern.
Man City. I mean, look, they are, I think, one of the best teams in the world. Obviously, they're in a fight for the league right now. Arsenal's number one. Shout out Arsenal. But
Mhm.
I feel like Bayern, they did just sign Tuchel, a new manager. They're getting that new manager bounce. And I will be going with Bayern. I mean, I just feel very strongly about this team. They have a history of success. And Man City, they are good, but I feel like they're kind of splitting their attention between league and Europe. And I don't know which one they're going to try to go for 100%, but I feel like Bayern will take the win here.
All right, so next matchup, we got Real Madrid versus Chelsea.
I'm gonna go with Real Madrid. I mean, Chelsea does have the roster. We know they spent 200 million in the last window, crazy
Mhm,
numbers. But I feel like
mhm.
Real Madrid is the better, more complete team. They've been together longer. Chelsea just has a bunch of new players that are still trying to figure out how to play with each other. The manager's kind of struggling right now in the league. Um, and I don't know if he even has, what it takes to bring this team further in the Champions League. So this is why I see them exiting to Real Madrid.
Then the final quarterfinal matchup, Milan versus Napoli.
I'm going with Napoli, man.
Mhm,
Napoli is a great young team.
mhm.
They got talent. Kvaratskhelia, Ozyman. I mean, they got a lot of good talent, and I'm going with Napoli. I mean, I don't know if this is controversial, but I feel like they're a good team. They're playing really well right now, and there also could be a surprise here. So I'm picking Napoli.
All right, so a final question, Josh. Obviously these are the last 8 teams in the quarterfinals. Do you have like a team you say like that you think is gonna win it all? Is there a team out there for you?
Um, I'm gonna go with either Bayern or Real Madrid. I feel like those are the two best teams,
Okay.
and I feel the most confident about those teams going forward. So next, topic 4. This is from Shams Starania. It says the Nets have ruled out Ben Simmons for the remainder of the season. Simmons is beginning rehab on his back, and Nets coach Jacques Vaughn reported that. So, what are your thoughts on this? And do you think Ben Simmons will return back to his All Star form or not?
He was in Philadelphia. He didn't want to be there. Kind of forced his way out. Didn't show up. Got fined and all this stuff. And goes to Brooklyn, new start and everything. That first year didn't play. Then this season felt like, okay, this is the time. And everything. He was saying the right things, and then comes here, missed his, couple of games, and then ruled out again. So it's tough. It's clearly he's going through an injury. The one thing I do is I never, never question, somebody's legitimacy of an injury. He's clearly going through that injury, but I do question his love and passion for the game. I feel like he really doesn't
Mm,
like love or really care about the game like maybe he used to do in the past. If you look at his strengths, he's still a great playmaker, but defensively he took a hit. He gets more fouls than he does guarding somebody. He fouls a lot, like he gets a lot of fouls. We've seen him get multiple games where he got fouled out. So and now he doesn't even start. Like when you talk about a role player, he is one right now. So will he become an all-star? I don't really know if I have that confidence in him that he will return to that. The bottom line is, first of all, he's going to have that passion and love for the game, which I feel like he's lost. And at this point, it just feels like, okay, I know I'm getting paid this money, so it is what it is. But for him to return to the All Star game, besides the physical, mentally, I feel like he's lost a lot of confidence in himself. You thought maybe a change of scenery would change that, but it hasn't. He's attacking the basket less paint points, less compared to Philadelphia. His playmaking is still what it is, and defensively, he's not right now the guy he was in the past. So to be honest, right now I'm gonna say no, but this is one of the saddest things I've seen in sports.
yeah, I agree. I honestly do not think he will regain form. I mean, like you said, I think he might have lost the passion for the game. I mean, I believe you did kind of report that he would regain the form. I mean, he's kind of making you look bad. I mean, I know you were kind of hopeful with that, but
Yeah, I thought with KD, Kyrie, you go like your
yeah, I
role is
mean,
like you're the third guy. Like all you have to do is
it makes sense.
play a Draymond Green role, and he let us down for that.
Yeah, like bro couldn't even play the Draymond role. I mean, he has all the tools for it. He has tools to be one of the best players in the league, but does he want to do it? I mean, I don't
That's
think
the
he's
word. It's
committed,
like
man.
tools. Like he has
Potential,
those
yeah,
potential, and every year it's
yeah,
like, oh, okay, fine, you don't shoot, but we can still see it. But the problem is that there's a difference between like not being like you're taking the shots, but you're not making them, and just not attempting. He doesn't even
yeah.
attempt
He's
any
not even
shots.
trying. Yeah,
Look at Russell; he tries, and we saw that game he
yeah,
had that 38 point.
yeah. Shout out Russ. But yeah, I don't think Ben can regain his form. I don't want to say it's over for him because I feel like he can always come back and surprise some people. But as for right now, I can't see him getting back to that
Yeah,
level
and also
again.
we know he has 2 years left on his deal, right? He's gonna
Yep.
make 40 or something, 40 or 30 something million. But it looks so concerning. Of like, is he, going like? How is his career gonna look after that?
Do you think he might be out the league?
And I don't like to go that far because he's
Yeah,
young and he
that's
still
true.
provides playmaking. But the one thing you could say he could be just a role player. And I don't want to be
That's true.
disrespectful to him, but he
If
hasn't
he
shown
wants to play that
everything.
role,
Yeah, like at the end of the day, it's just like right now it's like, okay, I'm getting paid. He's getting paid a lot of money, and people saying that he has the worst contract in the NBA right now. But he has like again, potential is there for sure, but physically it is what it is. But I feel like the mental, you gotta have the confidence. First of all, he doesn't have the confidence, and it doesn't seem like he really cares about the game.
that's true.
It's just like I'm getting paid and let me just continue to rob the Brooklyn Nets. That's what it looks like. And obviously, like I said about injuries, we never question legitimacy of an injury. It's clearly he's suffering injuries, and we just hope he has a speedy recovery.
Yeah.
Because the one thing about when we do this, we all want to see these players succeed. We want to see Ben Simmons succeed. It's not like we want to see him not succeed. So it's unfortunate. But the bottom line is there's sometimes called a letdown, and he's let us down, or at least let me down, because I think I was more high on him going this season than you were. So yeah.
So do you think the Nets should consider trading Ben Simmons this offseason or keep him?
I feel like the most obvious answer people would say is yes, but I'm gonna say no. Like, there's really no value in trading him. I mean, if you look
Yeah.
at it, if they trade him this offseason to get rid of his contract, first of all, they're gonna have to give up additional assets. The Brooklyn Nets already kind of have their core and set. Mikal Bridges, the shout out to him, he's been balling, playing at an all-star level. Brooklyn Nets are sixth right now in the East, so they're afloat, to potentially make this to make at least the playoffs. They got Cam Johnson, they got a Cam Thomas, they got a great coach, good organization. So they have I think they're kind of set in what they have. They have a lot of picks, and maybe this offseason they make some moves, they trade those picks, maybe get some star players. Who knows what they do, but trading Ben Simmons would not really help them because you would have to give up assets to get rid of him. I think it's just is worth to just kind of wait it out, let him play, maybe coming off the bench and see if he could be the guy we thought he was. Because maybe in Brooklyn we could think about him playing a point guard because of his playmaking ability, but we'll see what happens. But nah, it doesn't make sense to trade him, in my opinion, because it's you have to give up a lot just to get rid of him. You might as well keep him.
I think should they consider it? I mean, possibly, but what team in their right mind is giving up anything for Ben Simmons? The question is, will he even play basketball for the team? Because he could just sit out.
Yep.
No team in their right mind is going to do it. I
Yep.
mean, honestly, I just can't see him even if they want to. There's no team in the league I think that would accept an offer of Ben Simmons. None. Because what
Unless
do
you
you
give
gain?
something more in return, you got
Yeah,
to give
obviously, yeah, you
something.
have to like
Yeah.
put a package, but even then,
Yeah.
the Nets would have to give up something considerable to even get teams to even look at the package.
Yeah.
I mean, I
You're
feel like
right.
Ben Simmons is he's trapped the Nets. They gotta pay him out the money, and he can't go nowhere. So I think he's sitting here until his contract expires,
Yep. Yep.
unless he gets bought out, and I don't know if he's gonna accept the buyout. So
And we're talking about potential number one picks, man. He's a number one pick, and man, the way his career is kind of gone right now, he don't look like that kind of player. Shout out
yeah,
Markel Fultz, though. He's been balling. Shout
that's
out
true.
Markel Fultz.
Looking back at the Nets and Philly trade, do you think the Nets regret trading for Ben Simmons?
Shout out Daryl Morey. He robbed the Brooklyn Nets. I mean,
He
it's simple
definitely
as that.
did,
I
man.
mean, we talked about when this trade happened, we both gave Philly an A or an A plus for getting Harden because obviously he's a superstar MVP player. And we gave the Nets a B plus because bottom line is, we were looking at the when Ben Simmons at his peak, in Philadelphia. But looking at it now, the Nets get this is an F trade. I mean, all they really got, Andre Drummond was there. He left. Seth Curry's there. He's going to be a free agent this season. And they got 2 picks. I mean, they really got nothing in return for the production that he's getting. They're getting role player. They basically traded James Harden for a role player and 2
Pretty
picks.
much.
And right now, Seth Curry, who could probably walk in free agency if he wanted to next season. That's really what they traded for. As sad as say, right now the Nets look like they get an F, and at the time it looked like the right decision because James Harden wanted out, and we,
Yeah.
also looking at James Harden history when he wanted out in Houston, he just doesn't play, right? So you would think maybe okay, you trade him, he feels like no choice. And KD, I think I don't really know, but it was said that obviously KD probably was said yes to do the trade, and obviously because he's KD, you're going to listen to him, and I don't think he even probably thought it would play out like this. So it is the saddest thing I've seen in sports, and shout out Philly. I mean, Nets unfortunately did a trade with Boston. They've just been part of a lot of bad trades. So shout out Brooklyn, for all this disaster, and shout out Philadelphia and Daryl Morey for fleecing the Brooklyn Nets. And I'm gonna say this one thing. You know how when Ben Simmons goes to Philly, he gets booed, right?
Yeah.
At this point, even booing him is a waste of time.
Yeah.
This guy,
Yeah, he,
am I
he
wrong?
doesn't care about the booze, man. He don't
He don't
care.
even care, but it doesn't even feel like it's worth booing him. Like this guy's right now, he's a role player.
Yeah. Imagine booing a role player.
Like, come on.
Yeah, but
But I'm gonna
just a
just say this right now. I'm
clarification
not
question.
disrespecting Ben Simmons. I'm just being honest. I always want to see him perform and be that all-star player he was. But the way he cares about the game, the way he was playing, he's looked like he's just not. He looked like a role player. Like he just
Yeah.
what you a first overall pick to say that he's averaging 6 points and 6 assists. Come on, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
But again, I want him to get healthy. Hopefully, he gets healthy soon. And again, I'm not disrespecting Ben Simmons at all. I just got a strong take about it.
But just a clarification question. Who's the GM of the Nets?
Sean Marks,
And who's the owner?
Josiah.
Oh, okay. I mean, we know how the duo, not individually, we don't know Sean Marks is a talent, but we know how incompetent this duo is. I mean, they traded away Harden for someone who didn't even play basketball.
Okay, but
So
like
you
at the
just have to
time they
sit there.
did it.
You
At
just
the
have to sit
time they
back
did it
and
was
think about
different.
that. They traded Harden away for someone who didn't even play basketball.
But
Like,
we
think
knew,
about that.
but
Did they
everybody knew
really
Harden was
think?
gonna
Did
walk
they really
in the
think
free
that Change
agency.
Shinnie was gonna snap your fingers and just say, "Oh yeah, we got Ben Simmons. He's gonna play now." He didn't even play basketball the last season. So what in their right mind
But
wanted
at
to
the
trade for
time,
Ben
like
Simmons?
it made sense.
Incompetent. And with that even being said, knowing Joe Tsai and Sean Marks, they regret nothing at all. They
Yeah, but
regret
okay,
nothing,
am I
bro.
wrong? At the time, wasn't it right? He wanted out.
Yeah, but
He was going to
was
leave
there
at
no
the
other?
offseason.
Yeah, but was there no other package that you could have put
Clearly
together?
wasn't because every team knew he wanted to go to Philly.
You telling me trading somebody for someone who didn't play basketball, that was the best package, really?
No, I understand it looking back
Come
now, but
on,
at
bro.
the time, like if they didn't trade James Harden, he was gonna leave, right? But you could argue in free
They had to be
agency,
another
he could have
package,
got
bro.
us. They could have done a sign and trade for, with Philadelphia because if you wanted to go, they had to trade somebody. And also, I don't think there was any. Obviously, who doesn't want James Harden? But I don't think any other team considered trading him because they knew he would be a half a year rental. But who knows? I mean, we've seen Jimmy Butler get traded as a half a year rental.
Exactly.
So
So
it
you got
doesn't
to
mean,
take that
but
gamble
maybe
and
it was
convince him to
kept.
stay.
It was kept in house because it was never really reported that James Harden requested a trade. It just said that James Harden was disappointed, right? He didn't want like there was reports about, but it was never actually reported like from Woj or Shams that he requested a trade. I think they kept it in house and they eventually did the trade. But maybe you have a point.
But just to build up that, like I said, I think Joe Tsai and the owner regret nothing, bro. We know that they love their piece, bro. They wanted Kyrie out of there. They didn't care what they got in return.
Yeah,
They
yeah,
got
that's
Kyrie
true.
gone. They saw Harden was kind of bringing up some commotion. They say, take Harden, we'll take whoever. And that's what they did, bro. So I feel like they regret nothing. They're at peace with their decision. And yeah, this is just shows where the Nets are right now. I mean, shout out the Nets players,
I
man.
remember
But
Ben Simmons' interview.
yeah,
It's gonna be scary. Oh my
if
goodness.
he even shows up to the interview.
No, remember the no, remember when he first arrived, he was like, they was asking, what do you think about Katie Kyrie? It's gonna be scary.
I'm
And
weak.
ooh. Man, let's move on to the final topic. Um Topic 5. This is gonna be interesting. We're just gonna talk about NBA news, like things were happening, for a week or some time, and just talk about just different kind of stuff. Kevin Durant made his return March 29, 2023. KD made his Suns home debut as the Suns hosted the Timberwolves in a very crucial game for seeding implications. The Suns won the game 107 to 100. Obviously, Kevin Durant, had 16 points, 5 for 18 from the field, 2 for 4 from 3, 8 rebounds, 4 assists. So, what are your thoughts on this? And now that KD has returned, do you think the Suns will have enough time to gel and make a real championship push?
Yes, I mean, like I said before in a previous episode, I mean, I think the chemistry for this specific team and this specific situation will not be much of an issue. I feel like he'll be able to fit seamlessly. Yes, he didn't have the greatest game, but it is his first game back of injury, so he gets a pass, in my opinion. I don't know what you say on that, but I do think that they can make a championship push. They have all the tools, they have all the talent, and KD will be playing, warming himself up with the rest of the games to, make a postseason run.
Also, come on, Josh. I ain't gonna criticize him for this game. I ain't like that, man. Be thinking out here like say some crazy stuff about KD, but nah, I ain't gonna say that. Obviously, it's his first game back. First of all, I just want to say I'm happy to see him back. Obviously, it's great to see Kevin Durant playing basketball. Unfortunate freak accident injury he had. Happy to see him back. Obviously, he didn't play his best basketball, but they won the game. That's all that really matters. And we know it's one bad game of KD. He's fine. He had a somewhat subpar game. He'll be fine. He's Kevin Durant, best player in the world. But obviously, I do have concerns about the time to gel. Obviously, they don't have a lot of time to gel. But obviously, the culture and everything is kind of built already with the Suns. So it's just adding Kevin Durant. He's been the most seamless fit wherever he goes. He's the easiest guy to fit on a team. I don't think there's a debate on that. He doesn't need the ball to score 30. He could have like a couple of touches and go for 10 for 18 from the field. So they still, they definitely could still make a real championship push. The West has a lot of questions. There's a lot of teams, like a lot of people this season feel like the West, there's not really a definitive, like, okay, this team can win. We talk about Denver, obviously not one of the best defensive teams. We know Denver a couple of years ago made it to the conference finals, but obviously have never really been to a finals, and they're a relatively young team. We look at the Clippers, we got a Paul George injury. Lakers, they're a lower seed. Sacramento, new team, doesn't have that playoff experience. Memphis, there's questions about them. Are they ready now? They're still young. They're still trying to build. The Warriors, they've not had a great season. Wiggins is not there. There's a question there. So there's a lot of questions in the West right now. So the West is wide open. It's anybody's West at this point right now. So they really definitely got a shot. They're definitely a legit title contender. So we'll see how far they go. But yeah, they got a shot for sure. You got Katie Book, you definitely got a shot. And the 4 games they played together, the 3 out of 4 at least, they were spectacular. So obviously the fourth game too, Kevin Durant had not the best game, but they won the game. So next thing, Sacramento Kings 16-year playoff drought has come to an end on March
Mm-hmm.
29, 2023 as they beat the Blazers. What are your thoughts on this?
I mean, if this didn't already tell you that Mike Brown is a lock for coach of the year, I mean, I don't know what else to tell you, man. He's really flipped the organization. This was a historic losing organization. And what he do in one season? He flipped it, turned around, man. They drafted well. They made a good trade previously for Sabonis. And I feel like it's brought the best out of this group, this organization, this team. I mean, obviously it would be great to see them in the playoffs. I hope they can, surprise some teams, play well. They're our top seed. And yeah, I mean, it's great to see like a new face in the playoffs.
Yeah, for me, I'm first of all happy for the Sacramento fan base and that organization. They deserve it, man. A 16-year playoff drought, obviously a very long time, but they deserve it. And yeah, Mike Brown's coach of the year. And shout out to De'Aaron Fox and Sabonis. Obviously, I was pretty critical on that trade when they traded Tyrese Halliburton for. Obviously, it was a win-win for both teams. Tyrese Halliburton is balling in Indiana as an All-Star. Obviously, Tyrese Halliburton, De'Aaron Fox clearly, probably couldn't play together. It wasn't the best fit, but Sabonis has been great. He's been an All-Star. He's the most underrated player in the league, underrated big in the league. And yeah, they deserve this. And it's gonna be interesting to see what they do in the playoffs. Very good team, man. The shout out to that organization. They built a very good team. There was always questions about them missing on players, not doing well in the draft. Didn't take Luca, took Marvin Bagley, missed on big time players, could have had Curry, just looking at the history and everything. So gotta give them credit. They this year they really good. They got Kevin Herter in a trade. They got Malik Monk. So they got a very good team, man. Only thing about Sacramento, again, we know about the defense there. I heard one of the top 5 worst defensive teams. But the bottom line, and this is the star, and there's probably good things coming from Sacramento. They're a dangerous team, and De'Aaron Fox has proven to be one of the most clutchest players in the league today. So shout out to him, man, and Sabonis, man, special team, and shout out Mike Brown, coach of the year lock for sure. All right, so next thing, Russell Westbrook had a vintage performance versus the Grizzlies. Paul George obviously didn't play. We know Kawhi Leonard was a late scratch for personal reasons, hoping everything's okay with him. But yeah, Russell Westbrook dropped 38 points, 10 assists, 13 18 from the field, 5 for 5 from 3, and only had 2 turnovers. The Clippers won the game 141 to 132. What are your thoughts on his performance?
Um, Great performance by Russ. I mean, he literally gave this team the win. I mean, I feel like he was at his best. The Clippers got shooters. He was the number one guy. Essentially, just play how he plays and play his game. Drive and kick, his runs to the rim. He also didn't miss a three this game, so that was a good surprise for the Clippers. I mean, I feel like he led the team, man. The question is though, can he sustain this when Paul George and Kawhi come back? Because obviously he won't be your first option. Then he'll actually be third option if that. So I mean, this was a great game. He really did. This was a much needed win, and I feel like if
Yeah,
Russ can just be a bit more consistent and keep up this level of play, not obviously this high level, but I feel like the Clippers can surprise some teams.
yeah. Obviously, I'm ecstatic to see Russell Westbrook, playing, the way he has been. And obviously, when I got to give, your flowers, Josh, you obviously, I think, were you talked about when he arrived, he should be a starter and all that stuff. And remember when they lost 5 in a row, I was like, man, it was, Terrence, man, we were 10-4, everything was working, right? So obviously, just kind of looking at it, obviously, we both agree that Russell Westbrook was a good idea to bring along. But the way
Yeah,
he's proven, it just kind of proves like, okay, yeah, those first 5 games, again, that was more on the defense. It really wasn't his fault. We even said that it's unfortunate that the blame was being thrown his way. But you got to give him credit. I mean, bottom line, Russell Westbrook has done everything the Clippers were asking for him. Oh, hey, you want me to play make? Okay, I'll do that. You want me to, he's been sacrificing, give the ball to Kawhi, PG, what he's supposed to do. Oh, push the pace, get rebounds, get other people involved, bring that vocal leadership. He has set screens, done every single thing the Clippers have asked. Sometimes don't play in the fourth quarter, cheering on his teammates, everything. He's been a great teammate, and he's had a good impact on those young guys like Terrence Mann and Bones Highland. So he's been nothing but spectacular. And this performance shows that the people who said that he don't got it or he's not the same player were clearly wrong. He still got it. I mean, he can still play at this level. It's just a different role now. And and obviously this was a much needed win for the Clippers. Obviously without PG being out and Kawhi Leonard, who wasn't able to play due to personal reasons. Knowing your 2 superstars are out, you probably look at Memphis. Probably Memphis didn't take the Clippers series because knowing that they didn't have Desmond Baines, they didn't have Jaren Jackson, they were missing Tyus Jones. Obviously, Steven Adams and Brandon Clark weren't playing due to injury. So obviously, maybe Memphis just didn't take them seriously, or with those players not playing. I'm not sure because they maybe had an injury. I think with the so regardless, I mean at least on the court because the Clippers just outshot them the building. I mean, Russell Westbrook and Robert Covington went 12 for 12 from 3. I mean, they were 100%. You
yeah.
don't see that happen ever. That's a rare thing. So obviously the Clippers just outshot them. And shout out Robert Covington, professional man. Obviously, you were talking about this, obviously. And Robert Covington has earned himself a rotation place. I mean, he's never been he's always been a great player. Just the Clippers are so stacked. So, but he definitely earned himself minutes, and he was absolutely spectacular. And this was a big game. I mean, Clippers lose. We know we're talking about them being, further down. This was a big win, for the Clippers to, secure that playoff spot. And without Kawhi, this was a huge win. And shout out Russ. This was a vintage Russ performance. He shows that he still got it. And then it's funny because I was hearing today, it still feels like the media tries to downplay. It's always one game. The hate just never stops. The man can never win, but he was spectacular. 10 out of 10. I mean, there's nothing else to say. And I feel like he's done everything the Clippers asked. So shout out to him, and so happy to see him being succeeding here with the Clippers, and hopefully it continues. So, that concludes episode 36 of the Straight Sports Podcast. Thanks for tuning in. You can follow us at Straight Sports Podcast on Instagram. Subscribe to our YouTube channel if you already haven't. And yeah, next episode is going to be awesome. We're going to talk about our award predictions. We're going to talk about pretenders and contenders. We're going to talk about our top 5 teams with the most pressure to win a championship this season, and potentially WrestleMania as well. So there's going to be a lot of good stuff coming next episode. So tune in, and yeah, thanks for tuning in.
Yeah, thanks for listening. Peace.